On to chapter 4 of Joseph Pilates' book entitled Your Health. In this chapter, Joseph Pilates gets into the lifespan, how we care for ourselves from birth to maturity. And then at the end of the chapter, he gets into how children are raised. But I think it's important for us to think about if we continue carrying some of the things into adulthood too. I will save a classic Pilates quote about lifespan from this chapter for the end of this video. Within this chapter, Joseph Pilates brings up two Greek philosophies and points. One is what I like to call the Goldilocks principle. Not too much and not too little, but just the right amount. And I think that's important to understand that even with Pilates or Contrology, too much isn't necessarily better. More is not necessarily better. And not doing anything or too little isn't very good either. And that perfect point in the middle may actually change and fluctuate based on what our mind and body's needs are. So this concept of getting it just right is something that might need adjustment throughout the lifespan. The second Greek concept is this idea of knowing oneself. Joseph Pilates makes a point that many people go from cradle to grave without knowing themselves, and even without really knowing what life is all about. And so taking that time to get to know ourselves is essential. Joseph Pilates says that the remedy for stopping this downward health trend is to stop, look, and listen. He says science, inventions, progress, they haven't necessarily helped health of society. And I gotta say, he's mostly right. He argues if we took all the resources and the time and the energy that we put into producing things and instead put it into taking care of ourselves, that we can make more progress in society. He makes the point, and this is a point I need to hear for myself, that neglect of self is an issue, neglect of the body and the mind, and that how we care for our body and our mind needs to be balanced. And this is where there's an all caps quote in Joseph Pilates chapter 4 about not mind or body, but mind and body. They go together, they're inclusive. He said we should trace our life and find out where in our life the mental and that physical equilibrium was thrown off. I'm going to spend some time meditating on that point. He says study your body. Get to know what's good and bad about it. And then start eliminating the bad and improve on the good. And then he says what's going to happen? You're going to end up with a perfect man, physically and mentally. And then at the end of the chapter, he gets into children. He says children are born into families where parents don't even have the ideal health. And then the parents are passing on inheritance, genetics, but then also lifestyle factors. So I'm going to quickly skim through this list of lifestyle points that I put together here. He says that we feed children artificial food substitutes. We overfeed them. We overdress them. We oversleep them. We have children stand too early. We force children to walk too early. We make children sit in chairs. We make children be still. We don't let children climb trees or jump fences. We don't let children be active. We give children poisons. We teach children that success is about money. And we put children on career paths that don't bring ideal health. And I think even as adults, many times we're carrying that along with us. He also says that putting children in athletics sometimes is actually making the situation with children worse and not better. That what children need to learn is control their body. And that list that I went through in athletics isn't teaching them that. So they don't have control of body, they don't have vitality, they don't have health. And then when they get into adulthood, they actually don't get to fully experience success and accomplishment because they have these abnormal appetites and passions and competition as they enter into adulthood. So here's this quote from Joseph Pilates on what his method Contrology can do. My system develops the body and mind simultaneously and normally in the home, beginning from infancy and gradually and progressively through school and college days to maturity. There's some deep thoughts in this chapter, from Greek philosophy to how we live our lives, no matter what part of the lifespan we're on. I'm going to be thinking about it, especially this next week. What points stood out to you? I'm Linda Payton. I'm an online Pilates teacher and personal trainer, and I offer sessions within the United States. I hope you move well.